so if you'll humor me, I'll give you a bit more context to how the association works. Ignoring the top part, the bottom part I think is most interesting. We're really all about ecosystem, which I think distinguishes us from other organizations. We're not a trade group that represents startups or banks or one particular group in particular. For us, this idea of ecosystem is really something important. If you think about, a pond in the forest, it's not just that there's greenery growing there or birds flying overhead. The concept of ecosystem is that you have all these different actors working together and creating symbiotic relationships. So for us, it's important to think about what banks are doing and what they're trying to achieve, but it's also important to understand what entrepreneurs are trying to do, much like it's important to understand what individuals are trying to do. And for us, really, helping Switzerland realize its full potential as a global hub is what we're here to do. We think it's been a great financial center and it has all the right capabilities to be a top FinTech hub, but there's a few things that we can help along the way to fill the gaps. And so that's what really our mission is we want to be that driving force that helps to identify the gaps, helps to figure out how they're going to be filled, and really makes an impact in doing that. It comes down to a pretty simple set of concepts. In the activities to develop the ecosystem, it's really all about connecting, sorry, I think those are flipped. It's all about connecting, promotion, research, and advocacy. And we do that in a few different ways, usually through activities like events like this. Take all types of different formats. We did the first FinTech and blockchain hackathons in Switzerland, amazingly enough. We did the first pitch events. We've published surveys and reports over the years to help shed light on things. Our advocacy committee has been quoted many times or cited many times by FINMA and the government when they're making policy changes and seeking consultations. We also consult foreign governments. Groups here come and talk to us. Startups want to get help. So we do a whole mixed bag of things that really help to serve the needs of those different players in a way that leverages our platform to create value for them. Yeah, I don't want to spend time re-explaining these, but they'll be in the presentation, which I'll share with you. The way it works is basically it's a member and subscription organization. The distinction is we only actually have people as members, which is another unique thing. We did that to try and break down a lot of the politics to make sure that it remained neutral and that it was really an independent organization. Some other groups might be an association, but it's a corporate that set them up or a corporate that's behind them, for example. In our case, it really is people who came together to make it happen. I'm not sure what's happening with the formatting there, but, I see. Starts off with individuals, 100 francs a year, pretty straightforward. I was asked to explain a bit more how it works for companies, because we asked them to pay a bit more. Essentially, whether you're a startup, an investor, small or a large company, it's the same thing. What we've done is we've created a center of gravity. We've gotten people who are interested in FinTech, who are engaged in the topic. We're trying to make things happen. We've got them coming together in this center of gravity. And what we've done by creating our website, by organizing our events, is basically creating a stage on that center of gravity. We also don't mention it here, but we have a great social media following, 12,000 or so, like half as many as UBS, twice as many as some publications though. And if you think about that platform with this audience around it, it's a really great resource for companies that want to get information from the audience, they want to present their services to the audience, and that's essentially what we help do through our packages for these companies. They can host events with us, they can market their product through our network, they can share their updates to a relevant audience, and we actually even offer talent services. And I'll talk about that a bit later, but a lot of what we really try to do, because we're a nonprofit, we're quite lean, is how can we leverage what people who are in the network bring. So if we have experts like Matt and Alex, what can they bring that other members benefit from? What are other members trying to get that we can find somewhere else? That's really the secret of how it all works. I probably won't show you this video because we're a little short on time, but it's come a long way, and to explain what you're seeing here is this was our first meetup in 2014. It was pretty random. The guy right here is Dion, and he is now the head of payment innovation at Six. But 4 or 5 years ago, he was the founder of a company called Klimper, and Klimper was basically Apple Pay before 2 or 3 years before it was available here, before Twint was created, and it was a team of like entrepreneurs fresh out of ETH who built it. Really, really cool how that all came together. Another interesting case here is Douglas. He's the founder of Wealth Initiative, which just raised 1 million francs recently. Takes time, but part of the community is helping people develop and sharing stories along the way. And that was always a key part of what we did with even really basic meetups early on. You might recognize in the video on the right, some of the background looks familiar. A year or so ago, with the help of Francesca, the community manager here, we hosted an event for accelerators. And what's really cool is 3 or so years ago, there weren't any accelerators in Switzerland, and now there's at least 3, Fusion, Kickstarter, and F10. And so what we've done is shifted our focus. Instead of just talking about like what is an accelerator, we're actually bringing them all together for the first time to talk about what do they do, how are they different, what have they learned from abroad, what is the future of their program, so on and so forth. So I think that's, again, a really good example of how we've moved with the times and continue to try and drive the development of the ecosystem so everybody can benefit from it. We mentioned it a couple of times, but this is a really basic resource we did. Whether it's a local entrepreneur looking for an investor or a client, foreign investor looking for startups to talk to, people are looking for kind of a guidebook, and there was nothing available years ago. In recent years, the Swisscom map has kind of come out, but it's not a real map. It's a bunch of logos that are very, very small now because there's so many of them. And what we thought was really important was to make a free resource available that everybody could access that pointed out who are the startups, who are the investors, who are the corporates, who are the associations. It basically puts all the information we could gather out there, and then we ask for the audience to give us feedback. And what's cool is that this is something we've seen replicated by other groups. It's been a really effective way to help start these communities, so you'll see this in other groups as well. Tonight was a bit of a test for something that we're going to start in the fall. The content today was a bit lighter, and I'm trying to get through quite a lot, but we have a lot of interest to connect those experts in our community with people who are trying to develop their knowledge. And what we have decided to roll out is a workshop series. It's focusing on the new types of skills that are being demanded in the industry, so entrepreneurial and really technological skills that not everybody really has. And yeah, as that center of gravity, we have great people who we can bring in to do it. So Matt, who's here with us today, is working with us on a pair of them around preparing for fundraising, how do you actually finance a new startup, and another one on how do you work in these more stressful environments of doing new things, trying to disrupt an industry or building a team of people with passion. But we're basically looking here at some of the early stage stuff you need to do to transition from more traditional roles into some of these FinTech roles that a lot of people have been getting into. And yeah, I think that's probably a decent spot for me to wrap things up, because I think Alex is a perfect example of that. I'll let him. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it, and I appreciate your feedback.